Hello and welcome back. This is the 5th video in a series dedicated to the Speaker Systems Design and Optimization course, the MAPP 3D assignment number 3. This is the 5th video. In this next video, we've already put our arrays in play here, and we've got 2 of them. We want to do some EQ techniques to kind of deal with some low-frequency buildup and high-frequency shading. These are some EQ techniques that highlight some of the realities of line arrays. Meyer, in their Galileo processors, which they no longer make, and what we have in the Gracie Theater, have this feature called array compensation. Array compensation is an auto EQ circuit. Meyer's decided not to implement this in their later Galaxy series, and other companies have other names. Other companies like DMB, they call array compensation something else. But in Meyer, it's an auto EQ for low frequencies, and the idea being when you have a line array, while the single box, in this case a single Milo box from the mid-2000s, is flat, when you hang a bunch of them in a line array, the low frequencies will build up on axis, will all phase sum together to the listener, and you'll have way more bass than high frequencies because the high frequencies are horn isolated. So you need to typically EQ out most of this low end to kind of bring the array a little bit more under control in the low end. And so what Meyer did in their mid-2000s Galileo processor is include this array compensation EQ. So we're going to set this up because this is kind of important to understand this. If you go to the processor settings, there's actually a sub-tab here called array correction. And we're only going to need one array of it. We're going to unbypass it. It's going to be melody. And we have 10 boxes of it. And we want to assign this processing to be on channels 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's our array. Now, you could, if we were really doing this for real at the Gracie, we would also assign 5, 6, 7, and 8, because that would be our right array, and because our PA is in stereo. But to make things a lot simpler, we're just going to pretend this particular PA is mono, and both arrays are on the same channels, and it'll make it easier to optimize. So going back to device overview, that didn't actually work. And I have to admit that it's been buggy lately. They just implemented the melodies, and now they put the array EQ not just on the 4 channels, they're putting it on all of the channels. So this is buggy. I've been struggling with this, but when I click on the little EQ windows, it actually disappears. And if I click through all of them, the little, it's like the EQ exists but doesn't exist. See? It's only on the channels it's actually on. So do note that. It's a bug. Hopefully that gets fixed soon. But clicking here on under the processing tab, you can now see this is the EQ that has been applied to the line array to kind of get rid of that low frequency buildup. So whether or not that's what you actually want in the field or not, that's a decision you have to make. This is part of the reason why they eliminated it on their later Galaxy processors, is because the engineers would do it their own way. But anyway, for this assignment, please turn on array compensation for your outputs for a 10-box melody array. The next thing we're going to do is HF shading. When you go do predictions, and let's predict here at 8K. And let's see what it looks like here. It's pretty common in line arrays to see more level down front because it's closer to the boxes and less level far away. And a lot of people have tried over the years to turn up the upper boxes and turn down lower boxes. This is called gain shading. And this does not work out very well, and I don't recommend you do it. If one thing, it changes the amount of headroom, how loud you can make the overall array. And it also, while it may steer high frequencies very effectively, it messes up the low frequency steering and the low frequency patterning, because the line arrays depend on every box being equal in level to get the appropriate line array pattern in the low frequency. So you do not want to gain shade. You are allowed to, however, high frequency shade, where you turn up high frequencies on the far firing boxes and you turn down the high frequencies on the close firing boxes. And this may or may not help out, but in large venues specifically, not the Gracie, but in large venues, this is a very useful tool to make the farther seats that are getting more high-frequency absorption, more air loss. High frequencies attenuate with distance, and the close seats are not. It kind of equalizes the high-frequency coverage. So this is something we're going to play with for the moment here. My instructions here will show you with and without it. And it's really simple. In this particular situation, we're just going to dive in. Let me show you how to do it here, and the instructions show you. I'll just do it here for real. We're going to go into the processor settings, look at the device overview. I'm going to take the top two boxes and brighten them up, and the bottom two boxes, I'm going to darken them. So if I click into processing here, I'm looking at boxes 1 and 2. I'm going to go to the true shaping EQ here, and I'm going to create a +3 boost at 4 kilohertz. So this is essentially a 4 kilohertz shelf up here. You can actually play with it if you'd like. I'm just going to add 3 dB of 4K and above, and I'm going to scoot down to box 2, 3, 4. Box 4 is really, it's not box 4, it's actually channel 4, and it's the bottom boxes 9 and 10. I'm going to do the reciprocal of this. At 4K, I'm going to take away 3 dB, so minus 3 dB at 4K. And now if we go back to the device overview, you can kind of see a little tiny bit of a boost there, and I don't know if I really see it, but it's there. And does this help or hurt the coverage? You kind of have to do multiple predictions to figure this out. I'm going to go back to model view. You need a before and after prediction to compare to, and the instructions ask you to do that. So let's do a 8 kilohertz predict, and now with some high frequency boosting, it's a little bit brighter here and less bright there. Now, is it better? Is it worth all the effort? I'm not so sure it actually is in a small theater like the Gracie, but for this assignment, it's something I want you all to be aware of, is that high-frequency shading line arrays is something that professional touring and install system engineers do all the time to make coverage more balanced in the high frequencies. So please do that. Follow the instructions, and here's the final results without and with without and with for 4K and without and with for 8K, and whether it's better or worse. It looks like 4K might be improved. I'm not sure. It looks a little better, but and I actually wrote here, so it's my opinion that the HF shading slightly helped far seat coverage, but hurt close seat coverage. So I ended up, for my system, removing the high frequency attenuation on the lower boxes, but I kept the boost on the high boxes. So anyway, we are all done with this assignment. And things you're going to do here, you're not submitting any screenshots on this one. You're just submitting your final map file. Please make sure it's named map number 3, your name. And stick it in a folder, zip it up, and insert it. I will grade it with this rubric. And basically, you should have, a stereo line array, and it should be all articulated. And I should see array compensation EQ and high frequency shading of the high boxes and the low boxes. And hopefully you did a good job angling it. All right. Have a great day. If you stuck through the videos, thank you for listening. And I'll see you on the flip side. Okay. Bye-bye.